What is happening, my YouTube family? How are we all going today? We are here to do a quick update video on what's been going on. So firstly, let's jump over to the charts and look at BDP. It was a big talk last week with the amount of assets that were locked up in this protocol. Let's firstly jump over and see how much is still left in it. So you can straight away see that in terms of USDT, we only got 260,000. There's only 1,750 ETH, 85 BTC. There's 860,000 in USDC, and basically everything is being pulled out. So one thing that I must be extremely cautious about, and I emphasize you to be extremely cautious about too, those that are still holding BDP, is that if we have a look at the chart here, we will put it on, let's say, a daily chart. We had that pump back up, or that little pop back up, should I say, and we hit a high basically just towards the end of the staking period, and that was at that 560 sort of mark. Then we came all the way off to 330, and we've just been sort of ranging around. In a way, I'm quite surprised that we haven't actually seen this sell off, that people just haven't just dumped everything they've gotten. So there must be some warrant to the project. I myself, I've taken my profits on this particular trade. I've got out. I'm not holding any BDP anymore. I've moved on to another token now, just because I was in it just for the staking, as I think a lot of people were. It did become an interesting project. It still could pump at some time, but you're really taking on that risk because it is going to be a little bit more difficult. Like, what's the incentive for people to buy more, knowing that so many people basically got the tokens for nothing? So I would definitely express caution if you still do hold this. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, so I thought I'd just cover that and do an update. If we sort of have a look at the general information around it, 77 million market cap, 250 fully diluted. And if we sort of have a look at the markets, we're still only really trading on Uniswap and MXC. Hasn't really gotten any traction on any other exchanges either. So to me, it's like, just got to be a little bit cautious, because if liquidity was to dry up on some of these exchanges, it might be extremely difficult to get out, especially if you do hold a lot of it. So covering on now for BDP, we jump onto one of the most asked about ones of all, Solana. Let's get into it. So Solana here, 1345. We spoke about this back after the supply distribution, where it was just under $3 in the mid twos. Here we are, where multiples on side here. Obviously I took some profit along the way up. We still got some, our target is still $30. I think you could almost look to potentially even leave someone at $30 to see if it does go higher. We may be in a bit of a stage now where it may range between this sort of $12 and $16 mark, and we may see it range quite a bit in there for a little while. If we sort of jump out with this chart here, and if we even zoom out even more, you can kind of see that ever since we broke up and hit the high of 17, we've literally just been in this holding pattern, just drifting around. So hey, it might be an interesting point if you took some profits when we got to 15, 16, 17, maybe buying back in on the dips. However, if you're already sitting right, there's real no need. Just sit, hold, and enjoy the ride, I guess. A lot of things have been coming out recently. Oxygen is another thing that's popped up. I think it's on Solana and Serum and stuff like that as well. We had Radium, which was a DEX that was utilizing Solana. So I feel like there's a lot more projects at the moment that are now utilizing the Solana infrastructure. I think before, everyone was talking about it getting dumped with the amount of supply that was putting out there. And so since that didn't happen, that sort of created a bullish thesis for Solana itself. And now you're actually getting things getting built on it. And I think what we saw was people were looking at, F first, and then, we saw AVAX had a run, and then we saw the Binance Smart Chain stuff had a run, and, then we saw that last little pop in Solana. And so it does make me think that, the more projects that are getting released, it's important to keep an eye on sort of like that whole ecosystem, the Serum, Solana, FTT, and the other little side projects that are in there as well. and to see which ones actually utilize Solana. That's really going to be what takes us to the next level, I think, when you do see some big things get underneath it. With everything that's happening with Ethereum too, you're going to see some of the other products like, your sushis and your unis and things like that. There's potentially talk of these things also being, cross-chain. So that again as well might put a significant demand on the Solana. For those who have used Radium, which is a decentralized exchange built on Solana, of course you need Solana as gas. So the more protocols and products and things that are utilizing Solana, the more demand there's going to be for the gas as Solana, and that's obviously going to drive up the price. Still think it's quite undervalued here. We're still looking at a 6.6 billion valuation. If we sort of have a look at other things that are in the same sort of a category, even when you think about Ethereum, right, it's probably not going to overtake Ethereum, but 200 billion in comparison. Binance growing here, 39 billion. And if you have a look at Avalanche, which is down here at 4 billion, 4 billion market cap. So Solana's still sitting a little bit below. I still think it's got a little bit of growth in it. I think there's actually more being built on Solana at the moment than Avalanche. Avalanche really took off. You hit a high of like $60 at one point. So that was an 8 billion valuation. If you actually look at where, Solana has been, it's probably like 25% off the high, which sort of puts its valuation at about 5. So that to me is quite an interesting proposition. I would, for me personally, I'll be very much looking to see if we have more products build on it before we get that next leg. I don't think the next leg is just going to come from nothing. I think we've sort of seen it now. We've seen it consolidating, and we're basically in this pattern now. We're just waiting for the next piece of news. Next thing I wanted to talk about is Pancake Swap. Now, this particular one here, it's come off a little bit now since we, since the whole Binance Smart Chain hype, since that little almost like bubble, I guess you could call it. It's actually sitting just under $10, $9.50. I was purchasing more over the last couple of days, and what I have purchased, I've staked, and I'm looking to earn some rewards on that. And so I think this is fairly decently valued. I think people have sort of kind of like lost interest a little bit in Pancake Swap lately, and there's a couple of metrics I want to talk to you all about in regards to this. So the first one is obviously the volume. I haven't looked too much into MDEX at the moment, but it doesn't have a massive amount of products. But in reality, the two main ones that we want to look at is Uni and Pancake. Both of them have the majority of the products, and both of them have a somewhat a little bit of a different, but they're really the leaders in my opinion. And the significance in terms of market cap is quite insane. Uni is a top 8, with 15 billion market cap. Pancake on the other hand is basically 4. So I still believe we could see Pancake going back to $20-$30. That was my target previously in the bull run. Obviously we've had this pullback now. I did take some off the table on the way down. I'll have to look to buy some back and see if we do get another run. But I am staking so I can get those rewards, because the key, what I found to a lot of these projects is you want to try and find ways when you're holding it to sort of fund the position, right? For example, like your Pancake Swap, you can stake that on the Pancake Swap, and then I think currently it's 134% APY, and so if you have that in there for a couple of months and a bit of return on it, you better your average price for the position, and even if the position sits break even or goes offside a little bit, if you accumulate more, you're basically just having it at the same price, right? You're almost dollar cost averaging from what you're accruing as a return on it. So it's a good idea to do it. I'd recommend doing that with as many coins as that you hold. If you do find ways to earn money on it, I think it's a great little side thing, especially if you're holding it for the long term. There's no point in it just sitting in a Binance wallet or in a cold storage wallet if you can actually be earning money on it. There was an interesting thread by Andrew Kong recently, and it was talking about what people talked about was fake volume. Now I won't dig too much into this, but what I will do is I'll link this in the notes below. Have a read of it. It talks more about it. I think you actually find that a lot of the volume that's actually traded on Pancake Swap is a lot more viewed than what a lot of people were anticipating or were thinking. You know, everyone did think Pancake Swap was full of bots and it was all people basically wash trading and all this sort of stuff. But there's definitely a lot of real people and real traders in this, and that's something I want to point out. And that's basically why I have been looking to purchase Pancake again, and I think we could see it have another run. I still think, you know, a lot of people are going to gravitate towards this protocol just because it's tied so much in with Binance. I think it's pretty simple for people to be able to go and set up and use. And obviously we've had a big run, I guess, in the last few months. So, you know, if we sort of zoom out to the beginning of 2021, you know, we were under $1 for a while. You know, we really hit $1 in late January, and yeah, now we're at $10. But what it does look like is we seem to be forming a floor around this sort of 9 to 8 to 10 mark, shall we say. And yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if we get another move higher. Some of the other coins on Binance Smart Chain sort of had that typical bubble pattern where you had things go up and then they just kind of gone down into a lull, and basically there's no heartbeat in them now. So it's good to see that Pancake is still pumping, still a lot of people using it. And if we actually have a look at DAP radar, we can actually see that there's still a lot of users. You know, still 43,000 users. If we actually take it to all protocols and look at the most amount of users in the last 24 hours, you can actually see, let me just do all protocols in DeFi. Let's get rid of this. Now, why is it still giving me Binance Smart Chain only? It seems to want to just give me Binance Smart Chain only. I don't know what it's doing. So let's just click on that. So you got, so in the last 7 days, 147,000 users. If we go to the Ethereum network, where is Uniswap? Okay, what's going on here? All categories, there we go, 211,000 users. So in comparison to Sushi, which is at 13,000. So it's pretty clear that everyone is really using Uniswap and Pancake Swap. You know, a lot of volume. And so to me, that's just screaming that Pancake at these prices here is undervalued. It's definitely not worth, you know, if you actually have a look at it market cap wise. So even if we just look at standard market cap here, not even fully diluted, it's basically 1/10. Where in my opinion, it's, you know, maybe a quarter. And so if you think of it as a quarter, you know, this could easily go 3x to that target of $30. And so I'll be looking to stake this. I'll be holding it, looking to get to $30. Was our original target. We're still rolling with it. And yeah, that's basically all we had for this one here. If you've got any questions, comment below, and I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. And because a lot of these videos are very time sensitive, you know, we do like to talk about things that are happening, I highly recommend turning on the notifications button so that you do get alerted straight away when these videos drop, so you can act, do your research, make your own decisions, and decide whether these ideas that we talk about are right for you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.